This week on ANN, relief efforts follow an unprecedented monsoon season in India.
Changes on the horizon for Adventist Publishing work in North America.
And what happens when thousands of young people join together for community service? We get a preview from this week's commentator.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, Adventist humanitarians in northern India are monitoring needs in the wake of what local officials say is the worst monsoon season in decades. The torrential rains triggered flash floods and landslides across the mountain region, killing at least 1,000 people and stranding tens of thousands of pilgrims and tourists at nearby Hindu religious sites. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in India is prepared to distribute blankets, mosquito nets, hygiene items, tarps, and other relief supplies to affected communities. Agency officials say they'll focus efforts on isolated villages that were severely affected by flooding.
Rapid changes in the publishing industry could soon alter the landscape of Adventist publishing in North America. This week, the boards of the Review and Herald Publishing Association and the Pacific Press Publishing Association said they'll consider a merger. The proposal puts the two publishing houses on track to serve as a single publishing house in the near future. Administrators for the church in North America say the move would help integrate media ministry in the region. It would also link the new publishing house directly to church administration in North America. Currently, the publishing houses are both institutions of the Adventist World Church. The merger proposal comes after years of analysis. Church administrators have studied trends in the industry and new ways people access information.
Adventist human rights advocates are bringing a strong message against sexual abuse to one of Brazil's most notorious neighborhoods. Novo Tempo Media Center has this report.
The Pathfinders Club from the Brazilian city of Natal gathered about 1,200 people for an awareness walk through the streets with one objective: to bring a stop to sexual abuse against children and teenagers. Statistics say that there are 40 children being abused every 10 minutes in Brazil. To stop these alarming rates, community leaders are working together for this cause.
Our group participates at a national level, and here in Natal, we work together with the Pathfinders.
The walk through the tourist zone of Ponta Negra had a purpose. Natal, which attracts people with its beautiful landscapes, has become notorious for child prostitution.
It was worth our time to come and walk, only if society becomes aware that it is necessary to report sexual assault and create preventative measures. And the Pathfinders chose this neighborhood because it's known for having one of the highest rates of sexual exploitation.
The movement catches the attention of residents, tourists, and children. Besides the Pathfinders' presence, the My Best Friends crew from a national magazine came to liven the parade. The organizers' appeal is that this will start a wave of reporting sexual exploitation.
We went to the streets, paraded, distributed leaflets, and had the support of several institutions. It is a big fight, and we need everyone's help, and this movement helped us spread the word.
Next month's Impact South Africa Youth and Community Service Conference is set to be the biggest gathering of Adventist young people worldwide this year. Organizers say they're expecting thousands of young people from close to 100 countries to join in service projects in Pretoria and other South African cities. Earlier today, I sat down with Gilbert Kanji to learn more. Thanks for joining us today, Gilbert.
My pleasure, Erica.
Why is this conference called Impact?
A few years ago, I think the leadership decided that on our big events we should do more than bringing young people together for a great time of worship. And we recognize that service, compassion, is an essential part of the Christian life. So we've expanded our normal congresses from a 1-week to a 2-week concept, the first week being dedicated to community service projects, hence the word impacting your community.
What impression of the Adventist Church do you hope these volunteers will leave with the communities they're serving?
Well, let me answer that by an experience I had just recently. We were in the Amazon regions of Brazil, and I had to speak on the first Sabbath. I thought I was going to speak in a church, but we were actually in the State House of Representatives. And we were there with all the members of Parliament. They had set up an event to thank the young people of Brazil for the contribution they're making to the community. We want to be known as people who make a difference in our world. And the question is often asked, for the church, if your church was to disappear today, would your community miss you? We want the people to miss us because we are present there. If ever we were to leave, our absence should be noticeable because we should be known for people who make a difference.
What long-term results do you hope come out of Impact South Africa?
Well, we always dream that those events are more like springboards, starting blocks, than ends in themselves. So what we're hoping is that the model of lifestyle, the model of spirituality, of worship, of service, of community that is set at Congress is something that the young people will take with them and replicate in 24/7 wherever they live.
Thanks, Gilbert.
My pleasure.
Registration is closed for the Impact South Africa conference, but there's still room in the stadium for the final Sabbath celebration on July 13. SID Communication sent this invitation.
Hi, I'm standing here on the turf which is situated in the stadium called Masterpieces Muripe, which is in Atteridgeville, the venue of the Big Sabbath. The Big Sabbath will be a special program which will be at the end of the Impact South Africa program, which will be held here on the 13th of July 2013. We are inviting all the churches in Pretoria and the Johannesburg area to close their churches on that day, to send their young people here. The stadium has a capacity of 30,000, so we wish to pack it up. We want it to be full to capacity.
I hope each of you are planning to be there that Sabbath when you'll hear exciting stories about what God is doing in your life, in your part of the world, and also what God wants to do through young people as we look forward to Jesus soon coming. July 13, a great World Youth Congress. Be there. God bless each one of you. Maranatha.
The Lord is my rock, my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold.
I love learning about my ancestors. It makes me feel like I have a place in history. And I always tell my family, the more you learn about your past, the more you understand the present. But the past doesn't have all the answers, especially about the future. There's so much uncertainty and so much fear in the world today. Which is why I'm so happy that I found something that brings together my past, my present, and my future. I know that no matter what happens, there is a plan. And this gives me hope.
Welcome back. The July issue of Ministry Magazine explores the theological side of conservation and the role of the pastor as a spiritual guide. Willie Hux has a preview.
In the July issue of Ministry, several articles appear that emphasize the role of pastors as they perform the theological task. What we refer to as theology is not relegated to the realm of the academician. Rather, it is something that everyone does, regardless of age. Our role as pastors is to assist our congregations to conduct theological pursuits in a responsible fashion. And this is what we emphasize throughout our upcoming articles. In the lead article, Nancy V. Meister tackles the question, who was Junia? More importantly, She helps us to comprehend the importance of understanding the answer and relating it to our lives in the 21st century. Drawing such connections from the biblical text and applying them in the present is an outgrowth of responsible theology. Sigve Tonstad explores the opening story of John 4, asking the readers to wrestle with the idea that Jesus had to go through Samaria. Umberto Rossi shares what the Bible has to say about our relationship to the environment, a topic seldom theologically discussed by many. In doing so, he helps us to see that God cares about the whole of His creation, and so should we, because God created these things for our benefit. And Skip Bell calls on all ministers to be interpretive theologians who help their parishioners to make sense of the revelation of and from Jesus Christ. Let us, in the words of Paul to Timothy in 2 Timothy 2:15, be spiritual leaders who correctly handle the word of truth.
Now let's turn to Megan Bronner for a look at this week's Adventist social media highlights.
This week on Twitter, you can watch the live streaming of the British Union Conference's camp meeting. Just follow their account and watch for the streaming link tweets. And Adventist Risk Management tweeted an article about 7 tips for disaster preparedness. Among them, setting a plan in advance and training and practicing with your employees, church members, or students. Find ARM on Twitter and Facebook for more regular updates. Do you like Adventist World Radio and wish you could learn more about them? Visit the AWR Facebook page to see whether a representative will be at a camp meeting near you. You can follow along with the Adventist Review's 7-word proverbs on Facebook and Twitter with their proverb hashtag. One of the proverbs this week: beware of medicines, fine print, and publicity. And the Adventist Church Facebook page shared a video for the upcoming Youth Congress in South Africa. Here's a clip.
Hi, I'm standing here on the turf which is situated in the stadium called Master Pieces Muripe, which is in Attridgeville, the venue of the Big Sabbath.
Visit the Facebook page to watch the rest and don't forget to repost it. Do you love cooking and sharing your faith through food? There's a Facebook page for that. Adventist Chefs is a network for food professionals who are looking for an online community. Check it out for recipes and other general information about a vegetarian lifestyle. Got any social media news you're excited about? Tweet ANN and we could cover it in our next episode. And that's your social media news for this week.
Supporters of defamation of religion, or blasphemy laws, say they want to promote respectful dialogue, but Adventist religious liberty experts fear the controversial laws will backfire. John Grotz has more.
You have heard that some countries have implemented blasphemy laws. Others are planning to pass such laws. Some countries have already implemented a law against apostasy. There are people who sincerely believe such laws can enforce respect for religion and respect for traditions, even if the sentence for breaking these laws is death. They see some benefits for the society. I don't see any benefit in such oppressive legislation. It goes directly against the principle of religious freedom. It reminds us of the darkest period of the Middle Ages in Europe, when apostates and heretics were burned on the bonfires or tortured. I am opposed to this kind of legislation because it contradicts the freedom of choice God has given to every human being, the freedom to follow Him or not, the freedom to love Him or not. Religion is not an obligation. Religion is a choice. Nobody is forced to love God and to follow Him. We love God and obey Him because we have decided to do so in response to His great love, in response to His call. Religion is a relationship. The religion I believe in is a relationship of love with a God who loves me and respects me, with a God who gave me the freedom to love Him. There is no love without the freedom to love. This is why I believe in religious freedom for all people, everywhere.
The radio ministry arm of the church is using multilingual broadcasts to reach an international population in Spain. Dowell Chow learns more from a local lay member on this month's feature from Adventist World Radio.
Carlos, I know you have stations in Spain that reach North Africa. In how many languages are you reaching this territory?
Estamos trabajando en 17 emisoras actualmente. En estas horas que estamos hablando se está colocando la emisora de la ciudad de Murcia y otras emisoras en la parte sur de España también. En total llegaremos a 22 en este año. Se emite evidentemente emisión en español, pero también se atiende a las minorías y a la gente que camina o viaja o está de visita en nuestro país. Entonces estamos emitiendo en 5 lenguas. Lengua española como base de la programación.
¿Luego?
Tenemos las lenguas del norte de África, árabe dialectal marroquí, bereber y árabe clásico, francés, que es una lengua importante en el norte de África, y también inglés.
Inglés por Gibraltar.
Inglés por Gibraltar y por el tráfico de barcos de Gibraltar y por todos los extranjeros que viven en España.
What do you have within Spain, quickly?
Para España en particular tenemos todas las 18 emisiones, como habíamos dicho, 18 emisoras de radio que emiten en español, y estamos montando hasta 22 este año, y todos los días tenemos referencias de personas que llaman y que asisten a la iglesia el sábado por primera vez a través de la radio.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Still ahead on ANN, can you fit a sermon in 6 seconds? We hear from a church technologist who has a new idea for ministry.
But up next, young volunteers in New York City offer an alternative to a culture of conflict and violence.
I strongly believe that this project, Great Controversy Project, is God-sent initiative. This is what we need as a church. I would like to encourage every one of us to be part of this project. It will be a great blessing, and that will hasten the coming of Jesus Christ.
Every time when I read Bible, when I see the people like the apostles or Jesus, when they convert the people, I want to have that influence, maybe through the Holy Spirit, because there are many people I really want to save. I know many friends, I love them, but they couldn't accept Jesus yet. I really want to learn many things, as much as I can, to introduce Jesus to the people that I love.
During communism, corporal punishment, it was just the thing to do. That meant I have to put my hands out. And I would get so many hits on my hands that instead of having the dip, it was puffing out. I would pray that God would keep me safe. My name is Adrian, and my prayer was answered.
Welcome back. Thousands of Adventist young people and supporters recently joined 1 Year in Mission volunteers in New York City to spread a message of compassion they hope goes worldwide.
Far too often we can talk about how to show Jesus' love, but we keep talking without much doing.
A group of young people, thousands and thousands of young people coming in. We had little people, big people, older people doing things that just sort of impacted New York in a dynamic way.
I think that we use the word compassion in such a way that we think it's a box, that we just place it there and everything is compassionate. I think compassion is like butter. You have your bread and then you spread the compassion all around. And everyone that came there from different places, they were bringing with them that compassion butter. And wherever they went, they were just meshing it around.
It's living in a way that shows Jesus' love in a real and practical way.
The air about it, being at the park, walking across the bridge, and then when we convened, it was just, you could feel it was a different kind of spirit around us. It was really, really awesome.
People, they like to be successful. So as you pray with people and they touch their needs, most of the people, they like it. So when I knew that it is praying with people, I knew that that one is so nice for me and nice for them too.
I would like to take this compassion movement and use it back home in little acts of kindness, little acts of generosity, little acts of love that we can show people. Try and implement the compassion movement back home, and maybe we can march across the Nelson Mandela Bridge.
It's not just an event, it's not a day, it's not a weekend, it's a lifestyle.
The whole idea of compassion is something that I think I can take back home, because it's so easy to just be nice to people, essentially. Stop and talk to someone, take the time to give them the time of day, help someone cross the street, take their groceries to the car, just the small things. So it's about living a life of compassion all the time.
As Christian youth, as Adventist youth, being available to do such an activity on the Sabbath where we become the sermon, that's what Compassion Weekend was all about.
Church technologists are using the mobile app Vine to create and share short video clips through social media. As Chip Dizard says on this week's Tech Corner, 6 seconds is all you need to spark interest in your ministry.
Vine is a mobile service that lets you create and share short 6-second looping videos. Most videos are a little quirky, but I will share 7 ways to use it in ministry and missions. Praise team rehearsal. It's always good to show what goes on at a rehearsal, but for most, 6 seconds will be just enough to show your song set. Show new tech equipment. When a shiny piece of equipment arrives at your church, it's time to show people how it works by filming a series of 3 2-second clips. Behind the scenes with the tech team or pastoral staff. Any behind the scenes video is really a hit, but short videos to show what happens behind the scenes will be most likely viewed. Promo for the weekend. How can you do a promo in 6 seconds? Here's a basic recipe. Show the sermon graphic and tell them why they should attend. What to expect when attending. This is a great video for your first-time guests. You can show parking, seating, and options and facilities. A day in the life of a pastor. Who doesn't want to know what a pastor does during the day? Use Vine to capture short clips of what you do. Children's ministries clips. Everyone loves looking at videos of children. You can show them having fun, making sounds and faces, and really anything is possible here. Vine shouldn't be used to attempt to get an entire message across, but it should be used as a conversation starter and to get people curious about your ministry. If used creatively, Vine will spur curiosity and will hopefully turn into a visit to your local church. Will it last? Time will tell. But here are a few 6-second clips from a church mission trip.
Adventist health ministry leaders say a diet rich in whole foods is the best way to reach the 30 grams of fiber necessary to see health benefits. Dr. Alan Handysides has more.
I want to talk to you about fabulous dietary fiber. This is stuff that we eat that does us a world of good. There are many, many studies that have shown that fiber in our diet is an essential and health-giving ingredient. We get fiber in many, many things, especially in legumes such as beans, peas, lentils. We also get it in fruits and vegetables. Fiber is in 2 varieties, the soluble variety and the insoluble. But both of them do different things in our gut, but both of them are good for our health. Fiber has been shown to reduce your risk of colon cancer. You can reduce your risk even if you are a meat eater. You will see a very, very significant benefit from eating fiber, such as eating, say, 4 servings of beans every week. Fiber is also good for reducing your risk of diabetes. The prestigious Harvard study of nurses, 98,000 of them, has shown that as fiber increases, so does the risk of diabetes. Many of us would like to have less gut problems, intestinal motility problems, constipation and diarrhea. Fiber is a cure for that. If you go to our website, www.healthministry.com, you could watch Dr. Brian Bull give a lecture on fiber. It's a wonderful series.
In a new video series, Adventist World Church President Ted Wilson invites viewers to accept God's many gifts. This week's gift is God's creative power.
Imagine nothingness, only darkness. Suddenly a strong voice speaks, "Let there be light." And immediately there was light. Who is this voice? Who can command light out of darkness? He continues, day after day, bringing into existence the atmosphere, the seas, and everything in them, setting the earth, the sun, moon, and stars in their courses, creating life, plants, birds, animals, and finally a man and a woman. Some say it's just a fairy tale, but perhaps that's because they haven't heard his voice. The voice that can create something from nothing. The voice that says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding." That is the voice of our wonderful Creator, the one who is the giver of all good gifts. Why not accept his gift of creation and the knowledge of him today?
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, in one of the first religious liberty cases in the U.S., a farmer is imprisoned for plowing his field on Sunday.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On June 23, 1889, R.M. King, a farmer in Obion County, Tennessee, was arrested for plowing corn in his field on Sunday. King had accepted the Seventh-day Adventist faith in 1884, one of the first in his community. In 1889, he was charged with violating Sunday laws, convicted, and imprisoned. His case was appealed to the Tennessee Supreme Court and to the United States Federal Court, both of which found against him. Church leaders hoped to appeal his case to the United States Supreme Court as a test case on the separation of church and state, but sadly he died in prison before the case could be heard, a martyr. Also on June 23, but 67 years later in 1956, Minnie Sipe, pioneer Adventist evangelist, pastor, colporteur, administrator, and missionary, died in Oregon. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Sipe had been known across the Midwest of the United States as the woman preacher. She worked for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in every U.S. state and as a missionary in the Bahamas. On June 29, 1995, the 56th General Conference session began in the historic city of Utrecht in the Netherlands. This was only the second General Conference session to be held outside the United States. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, friend us on Facebook. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Just visit Facebook/Adventist News.
Our good news for this week comes from the New Testament book of Romans. The passage says, "Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep up your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.